Akhanvitamscha. He
He
Krishna
Krishna
Karuna
Karuna
Sindhu
Sindhu
Dinabandhu
Dinabandhu
Jagatpate
Jagatpate
Gopesha
Gopesha
Gopika
Gopika
Kanta
Kanta
Radha
Radha
Kanta
Kanta
Namostute
Namostute
Tapta
Tapta
Kanchana
Kanchana
Gaurangi Shri
Gaurangi
Radhe
Radhe
Vrindavaneshwari
Vrindavaneshwari
Vrishnabhanu
Vrishabhanu
Sute
Sute
Deve
Devi
Pranamami Hari
Hari
Priye
Priye
Vancha
Vancha
Kalpatarubhyascha
Kalpatarubhyasya
Kripa
Kripa
Sindhyobhya
Sindhubhya
Evacha Patitanam
Ketanam
Pavanebhyo
Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri
Shri
Krishna
Krishna
Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Prabhu
Prabhu
Nityananda
Nityananda Shri Advaita
Gadadhara
Gadadhara
Shrivasadi
Sadi
Gaura
Gaura
Bhakta Vrinda
Bhakta
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
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 Rama
Rama
Hare
Hare
Rama
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 Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Okay, so I think you can get started. So I think we had completed until 11.8 last time. I think Pyari Prabhu did verse 11.8 on Saturday. So we have to start from verse 11.9 today. Excuse me. So I'll give a quick recap of what we had discussed so far in the 11th chapter. So 11th chapter starts with Arjuna making a very emphatic statement. He says, Mohoyam vigato mama, my illusion is now gone away. It's a very significant statement. It is almost like in the middle of Bhagavad Gita. He's making the statement that my illusion is now gone away. And actually, it matches up with the kind of questions he is asking. Because we see that in the 10th chapter also, after Krishna had spoken the Chaturshloki Bhagavad Gita, the question or the request that he made was, I want to know more about your glories. How are your glories manifested in the material world? That was his question. And now in the 11th chapter, the question that he asks is, I want to see your universal form. So we see that his questions, instead of his questions have now become more metaphysical. Earlier it was more practical questions, whether I should fight or not, whether what is better for me, is renunciation better, or sticking to my duty of kshatriya is better. So those were very practical questions, but now he is asking more metaphysical questions. So, and then he also clarifies that his moha, his illusion is gone away because of Krishna's mercy, because Krishna has given him guhyam adhyatma, so very confidential spiritual knowledge Krishna had spoken to him, because of which his illusion is now gone away. Now further, in verse 11.3, he makes a request to Krishna, but first he clarifies. He says, "Evam etad yatha tattvam atmanam parameshwara." As I see you, so you actually are. That is what he means to say there. But further, he makes a request. He says, "Drishtum ichhami te rupam aishwaram purushottama." I want to see your opulent form, your divine opulent form. So drishtum ichhami te rupam, I want to see. And further, he qualifies his request. So he adds something more to this request. He says, manyase yadi tatshakyam maya drishtum iti prabho. He says, if you think I'm qualified to behold your universal form, then please show it to me. It's a very significant statement. He is very humbly requesting Krishna. It's not a demand from him. It is more of his desire and his request that he is making it. If you think I am capable of beholding your form, then please show it to me. So there is also a nice pastime of Prabhupada associated with this verse, which some of you may already know about. So we had Hayagri Prabhu, who was one of the early disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Hayagri Prabhu also has written this book, The Hare Krishna Explosion, very nice book. So Hayagri Prabhu actually, so the idea earlier, the idea of following the four regulative principles was very radical. Initially it was very difficult for people to follow. It's a very radical idea. Nobody has thought about following those four regulative principles. It was almost like difficult, more difficult than sannyas itself. So by following the four regulative principles, they expected some miraculous results. So one day, Hayagriv Prabhu went to Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was actually at that time working on Bhagavad Gita. So he told Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, we have been following four regulative principles for more than 6 months now, and I've been chanting 16 rounds for more than 6 months, but we have not yet seen Krishna. So when will we see Krishna? So Prabhupada smiled after hearing this question from him. So he turned the book around, the book, whatever he was writing, he turned it around, and then he said, read it. So he did not understand. I mean, Hayagriv Prabhu did not understand. So what do you mean? Well, just read this. So when Hayagriv Prabhu read this, the verse, it was this particular verse, that if you think I am qualified, then please show it to me. So still it did not make much sense to Hayagriv Prabhu, but Prabhupada said, read it again. So still it did not made sense to him. So he said, read it again loudly. So after reading 3-4 times, then it made sense to him. So actually, Arjuna is a very intimate associate of the Lord, and still he is making a request. He's saying that actually, if you think I'm qualified, then please show me your universal form. So very significant in that sense. So we have to understand here that humility actually begs and waits. Begs in the sense that we make a as if we are begging, we make a humble request, and we wait, and I'm ready to wait until I'm qualified. And on the other hand, the opposite of humility is arrogance. So arrogance demands and complains. He says, I want to see this, and if we don't see that, if we don't show that, whatever, and if Krishna doesn't show that, why don't you show it to me? So he complains. So that is the opposite of humility. So Prabhupada in one of the purports also write in Bhagavatam that the devotee desires to see the Lord, but he never demands to see the Lord. So it's a very important difference between the two. So further, after Arjuna makes this request, Krishna immediately agrees. And Krishna says, Pashyame Partha Rupani Shatashotha Sahasrashaha Nana Vidhani Divyani Nana Varnakriti Nicha. He says that Arjuna was, see now my opulences, hundreds of thousands of very divine and multicolored forms. So before he actually shows his divine form to Arjuna, he actually gives a little orientation to Arjuna about what is Arjuna going to see now. Because this form is so extraordinary, nobody has seen this form. And just so that Arjuna can make some sense out of what he's going to see, Krishna first describes to Arjuna that what is it that Arjuna is actually going to see. So he says you will see hundreds and thousands of divine multicolored forms. And then he says that you will also see the Vasus, Rudras, Ashwini Kumaras, Marutas, Adityas. So these are the 5 categories of denizens, the heavenly citizens. So you will see all these in my universal form. Further, Krishna also says that he makes a he describes how this universal form is going to be a wonderful form. He says, Ihai kastham jigat krishnam. Just standing at one place, you will see the entire universe. Now, just to think about it, I mean, even if we are, say, I'm sitting in this room, so what happens is our position determines our vision, and it also limits our vision. For example, when I'm looking at my laptop, I don't know what is happening behind me. I can't see that. So, depending on where we are, our position, our vision is determined, and it is also limited. But here Krishna is saying that just standing at one place, you will see the entire universe. And we'll see how Krishna, actually Arjuna, is seeing. He sees the Shesha, who is at the bottom of the universe, and he is also seeing Brahma, who is at the top of the universe. Brahmaloka is at the top of the universe. So just standing at one place, Arjuna will see from the bottom of the universe to the top of the universe. So Arjuna actually gets a partial omniscience. He gets omniscience not in the sense that he will know what is happening in the hearts, of every living entity, but he can at least see what is happening in the universe at that particular time. Further, Krishna says that mam dehe gudakesha yat chanya drishtum ichhasi. Whatever else you want to see, Arjuna, you will be able to see in my body. Mam dehe. So Acharyas describe that Bhagavad Gita is being spoken just before the start of the battle. So what is important for Arjuna to know is what will be the result of this battle. So that is important for Arjuna to know. So, and Krishna will reveal it to Arjuna. Later we see in the 11th chapter that Krishna tells Arjuna that everybody here except you will be killed on this battlefield. So in the sense, Krishna makes a revelation that you all will be victorious. Pandavas will be victorious in the war. And finally, Krishna says that Divyam dadami te chakshu. He says that, but because with these eyes you cannot see my form, I'll give you divine eyes. So I think we discussed it last time also on Saturday, and Acharya also explained that the vision that is being given to Arjuna. Am I audible? Is everyone able to hear me?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, because I see a mute sign, so I thought.
Yes, Prabhu. Wonderful.
Okay,
we are hearing.
Okay, good. So Acharya has explained that the vision that is being given to Arjuna, it is not that his vision is upgraded. Actually, his vision is downgraded, because Arjuna was already able to see Krishna's sweet transcendental two-handed form. That is the actual form in which Krishna exists in the spiritual world. So he was actually seeing this. He was having a spiritual vision, and from there his vision is downgraded to a celestial vision. So this form that Krishna is going to show to Arjuna, it is like a temporary celestial vision. It's like a mystical vision that Krishna is going to give to Arjuna. So it's a material vision. So from spiritual vision, his vision is going to be downgraded to material vision. So this is what we have until this verse we had discussed last time. Let me quickly open the 9th verse and let me see if I can share my screen, and then we all can recite the verse. Okay, is everyone able to see my screen now?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, good. So we all can recite this verse. You can repeat after me. Sanjay Uvacha.
Sanjay Uvacha.
Evam uktva tato rajan.
Evam uktva tato rajan.
Mahayogeshwaro Hari.
Mahayogeshwaro Hari.
Darshayama Saparthaya.
Darshayama Partaya.
Paramam Rupam Aishwaram.
Paramam Rupam Aishwaram.
Sanjay Uvacha.
Sanjay Uvacha.
Evam uktva tato rajan.
Evam uktva tato rajan.
Mahayogeshwaro Hari.
Mahayogeshwaro Hari.
Darshayamasa Parthaya.
Darshayamasa Partaya.
Paramam Rupam Aishwaram.
Paramam Rupam Aishwaram.
Sanjay Uvacha.
Sanjay Uvacha.
Evam uktva tato rajan.
Evam uktva tato rajan.
Mahayogeshwaro Hari.
Mahayogeshwaro Hari.
Darshayamasa Parthaya.
Darshayamasa Partaya.
Paramam Rupam Aishwaram.
Paramam Rupam Aishwaram.
Anyone else would like to recite the verse?
Sanjaya Uvacha.
Sanjay Uvacha.
Evam uktva tato rajan.
Evam uktva tato rajan.
Mahayogeshwaro Hari.
Mahayogeshwaro Hari.
Darshayam asaparthaya
Darshayamasa Parthaya
paramam rupamaishwaram.
Paramam Rupameshwaram. Anyone else?
Sanjaya Uvacha
Sanjay
Sanjaya
Uvacha.
uvacha
Evamuktva tato rajan
evam uktva tato rajan
Mahayogeshwaro Hari
Mahayogeshwaro Hari
Darshayam Asapartaya
Darshayamasa
Darshayamasa
Parthaya
Parthaya
Paramam Rupamaishwaram
Paramam
Paramam
Rupameshwaram.
Rupamaishwaram.
Sanjaya Uvacha
Sanjaya Uvacha
Uvacha
Evam Uktva Tato Rajan
Evam Uktva
Tva
Tato
tato
Rajan
rajan
Mahayogeshwaro Hari
Mahayogeshwaro
Ishwaro
Hari.
Hari
Ashayam Asapartaya
Darshayam
Darshayama
Darshayamasa Parthaya
Parthaya
Paramam Rupam Aishwaram
Paramam Rupameshwaram.
Rupamaishwaram.
Sanjaya Vacha
Sanjaya
Uvacha.
Uvacha
Evam Uktva Tato Rajan
Evam Uktva Tato Rajan
Ayogeshwaro Hari
Mahayogeshwaro Hari
Arshayama Saparthaya
Darshayama
Darshayamasa
Saparthaya
Parthaya
Paramam Rupamaishwaram
Paramam
Rupameshwaram.
Rupamaishwaram.
Anyone else?
बोलो 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 तो पढ़ो.
Sanjay Uvacha
Sanjaya Uvacha
Evamuktam Tato Rajan
Evam Uktva Tato Rajan
Mahayogeshwaro Hari
Mahayogeshwaro Hari
Darshamasa Parthaya
Darshayamasa Parthaya
Param Rupa Maheshwaram
Paramam Rupameshwaram.
Rupamaishwaram.
Okay, so I'll speak the synonyms now. You can repeat after me. Sanjay Uvacha.
Sanjaya Uvacha.
Sanjay said.
Sanjay said,
Evam.
Evam
Thus.
thus
Yuktva.
Yuktva
Saying.
saying
Tataha.
Tataha
Thereafter.
thereafter
Rajan.
Rajan
O king.
O king
Mahayogeshwaro Hari.
Mahayogeshwaro
The most powerful mystic.
the most powerful mystic
Hari.
Hari
The supreme personality of Godhead Krishna.
the supreme personality of Godhead Krishna
Darshayamas.
Darshayamas
Showed. Parthaya.
Parthaya
Unto Arjuna.
unto Arjuna
Paramam.
Paramam
The divine.
the divine
Rupameshwaram.
Rupamaishwaram
Universal form.
universal form.
Translation. Sanjay said, O king, having spoken thus, the supreme lord of all mystic power, the personality of Godhead, displayed his universal form to Arjuna. So here in this verse, we see that the word that Arjuna uses, the word that Sanjay uses to describe Krishna, he says Maha Yogeshwaro Hari. I think I'll have to mute everyone. One second. Rasatu, are you able to mute everyone? Okay, thank you, Prabhu. So the word that Sanjay uses to describe Krishna, he says Maha Yogeshwaro Hari. So what he is signifying is that the kind of vision that is going to be shown to Arjuna, it is actually a very extraordinarily wonderful mystical form, And actually, who is capable of showing this vision? So yogi is like a normal yogi. Even a normal yogi will have certain siddhis. If he's a perfected yogi, so they will get a lot of siddhis. So for example, in the prapti siddhi, the yogi can just spread his hand and he can get whatever he wants from any part of the world. If I'm just sitting here, I want something from India, I just spread my hand. If I'm a perfected yogi, I just spread my hand and then just get it from India. So like that. So like that, the wonderful form that is going to be shown to Arjuna, it is like a very wonderful looking mystical form. So only a Yogeshwar can show that form. So here he says Maha Yogeshwar, the great lord of all the yogis. And the other thing that Acharya has explained about this is that just 2 verses before, when Arjuna was making this request to Krishna, he addressed Krishna as Yogeshwar. And here Sanjaya is addressing Krishna as Maha Yogeshwar. So actually, the greater the distance from a person, or the greatest the distance from us from a particular situation, the greatness of that person or the greatness of that thing is more. So for example, when a bird is flying over Himalayas, the bird will see just some mountains. But if I am standing at the foothill of the Himalayas, I see it's such a great mountain. It's huge. So the greatness that will be visible to me from the foothills of Himalaya would be greater. So that's why Sanjay is seeing Krishna from a distance. So Arjuna is an intimate friend of Krishna, but Sanjay is not an intimate friend of Krishna. So he says Maha Yogeshwara Hari. And this is the same word that Sanjay is going to use towards the end of the Bhagavad Gita. In the 18th chapter, again he will say Maha Yogeshwara Hari. So he says that having spoken thus, the Supreme Lord of all mystic power, the personality of God, had displayed his universal form to Arjuna. And now for the next few verses until verse 14, Sanjay is going to describe what Arjuna was seeing actually. Until the 13th verse, he will describe what Arjuna saw. And just before this, Krishna told to Arjuna that this is what you are going to see. Now, Sanjay is describing what Arjuna is seeing on the battlefield. In the 14th verse, he will describe that actually Arjuna is overwhelmed with amazement. And then he makes a request to Krishna. That is the 14th verse. But before we move forward to the next verse, are there any questions or comments about what we have discussed so far?
We are describing so that we repeat what has been repeated.
పర్పట్ లేకపోతే ఇంకో వర్స్ తీసుకుంటాం. ఉత్త ట్రాన్స్లేషన్ ఉంటే
Prabhu, if I may ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So you mentioned that Krishna, while Krishna showed him the future, and basically at the end of the battle only he was going to be remaining alive and Pandava were going to win. So I have a question on the free will, that in a way, what choices Arjun was going to make, Krishna already had decided at the end of the war, right? Because he at that time he was still not completely agreed whether he wanted to fight. So how does the free will come in the picture?
So actually, for as far as the battle is concerned, it's not that Krishna and Pandavas did not try to stop the battle. So we see that actually Krishna goes as a Shanti Doot, as a peace messenger himself. It is a very significant event in the Mahabharata that Krishna goes himself as the peace messenger. So this basically describes how much importance the Pandavas were giving to this peace mission. So they're sending their best man. Krishna was understood to be the best man amongst the side of the Pandavas, and Krishna was also related to the Kauravas also. So in that sense, Krishna was a very important person. So he himself goes and he makes a very compelling peace proposal. So when Krishna makes that final proposal that, okay, just give us the 5 villages, at that time it is described in the Mahabharata that there is a first time there is a dissent between the Kauravas. So Dushasan, Duryodhan says no to that peace proposal, and Dushasan becomes angry with Duryodhan. He says that, are you a fool? We are going to be killed if there is a battle, and you have to give five villages. So Dushasan actually walks away in anger out of the assembly when Duryodhana rejects that peace proposal. So we see that Krishna had made all the attempts. So it's not that they have not tried to stop this war, but when Duryodhan had already made the choice of fighting this war, so the free will was given to, so Pandavas had their free will, they tried their best to stop the battle. Duryodhana had his free will, he had the option to not have this war, just give the five villages. But after they made their choice, now the results is not in their hands, the result is in the hand of Krishna. So Krishna actually had decided the result of this battlefield. So he wants to make the Pandavas victorious. So he makes it clear to Arjuna that he says, Nimitta matra bhavasavyasachi. He says that just become an instrument in my hands, because I have already decided that this, they are going to be killed and you are going to be victorious. So if you become an instrument in my hands, you will get the credit. But if you decline to fight the war, so the war is anyway decided, but you will not get the credit. So that is how Acharya also explained to us that if the mission of Krishna has to spread anyway, we just have to become an instrument in that. It's not that by our becoming an instrument there will be an impact on the mission of the Lord. So did I answer your question, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you for your time.
I have a question too, Ganapati Govind.
Yes, Mataji.
Dhritarashtra is hearing all this Maha Yogeshwaro Hari and all that. Isn't he like to some degree intimidated by hearing Krishna, the Maha Yogeshwaro Hari is on that other side? Sanjaya is seeing it and saying it to Dhritarashtra.
Yeah. No, that is right, Mataji. Actually, if you see the setting of Mahabharata, so what happens is, the Bhagavad Gita is being told to Dhritarashtra in a flashback. So in the Mahabharata, how it is described is that actually initially when the battle started, Sanjaya was on the battlefield. He was not with Dhritarashtra. But on the 10th day, when Bhishma Dev falls, when he falls to Arjuna's arrows, at that time, Sanjaya rushes back to Dhritarashtra and he informs him that, okay, Bhishma Dev has fallen. And after hearing the news, actually Dhritarashtra falls himself and he falls unconscious, because he was counting on Bhishma Dev and Dronacharya that they will win the battle for them. And when he hears that actually Bhishma Dev himself has fallen, so he couldn't tolerate that. So after some time, when he comes back to consciousness, so he asks Sanjay that, please tell me from beginning what happened. Therefore, when we see, in the first verse of Bhagavad Gita, what happened when the two forces are in front of each other. So it is more like, it is like a very obvious question that when the two forces are in front of each other, they are going to fight. But because it is being told in a flashback, that is why Dhritarashtra asked that question in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. So from there, actually, Sanjaya tells Dhritarashtra that this is how first there was a discussion. So then from there on, it is chronological. So after that, once the war had started, so then there was no point in, all he could do is just pray or just hope that his sons could win. But yeah.
But it says in the first chapter that he feels a little, he feels, happy-hearted when Sanjaya describes the large army on Duryodhana's side and everything. So how can he feel happy-hearted when it is being told in flashback?
Okay, I think I missed that, Mataji. Which is there a verse like that which says that he was happy-hearted? Because there is just one verse that Dhritarashtra speaks in the whole Bhagavad Gita. There is no other verse that Dhritarashtra speaks.
Yeah, let me think about it and maybe ping you later.
So there was this one verse is there in the first, where when the conch shells are blown, it says, there is a verse that comes that the hearts of the Kauravas were shattered after hearing the conch shells of the Pandavas. And it gave joy to the Pandava army. That verse is there, but it basically says that the hearts of the Kaurava army was shattered by the hearing of the Vijay Ghosh of the conch shells that was being blown by Krishna, Arjuna, and others. Okay. I don't know if you are referring to that particular verse in the first
maybe chapter. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. Okay. If I have another question, I'll let you know later.
Okay, Mataji. Any other comments, questions before we move forward to the next verse?
Prabhuji, you said Sanjaya was in Kurukshetra.
Yes, that is how Mahabharata describes it.
Oh, okay. So
So
how long?
actually,
I missed little bit. I heard, but I couldn't understood that. Can you?
no, Mataji asked this question that when initially only Dhritarashtra is
Yeah,
hearing
no,
all this.
I got that. But you said that Sanjaya was in the Mahabharata in the Kurukshetra
So in the
until Bhishma got down.
right, so Sanjay was on the battlefield and he was observing the war from the battlefield when he, until the 10th day. But after the 10th day, when Bhishma Dev falls, at that time he comes back to Dhritarashtra and informs to Dhritarashtra that Bhishma Dev has fallen. So after hearing that, Dhritarashtra asked, "Tell me from what happened."
I
So
see.
that
I see.
time actually
Yeah.
this Bhagavad Gita, yeah. So
Yeah.
this discussion between Dhritarashtra and Sanjay is like a flashback discussion that is happening after the 10th day. But from that point on, the events are chronologically described in the Mahabharata after the Bhagavad Gita is spoken.
Thank you. Thank you. Bro.
Right. Correct. Yeah. So yeah, that is true. So he sees his that was given to him by Vyasadev. He sees from the 10th day and he starts narrating it to Dhritarashtra from that time on. Okay, so I'm moving on to the next verse. So these are two verses together, verses 11.10 and 11.11. Let's recite this verse. You all can repeat after me. I think Rasraj, we will have to unmute everyone. Okay. All right. So let's start then. Anekavaktra nayanam.
Anekavaktra nayanam.
Nayanam.
Anekadbhuta darshanam.
Aneka
Aneka
Adbhuta
Anekadbhuta
Darshanam.
Aneka divyabharanam.
Aneka
Aneka
Divya
Divyabharanam.
Divya aneka adyayotam.
Divya
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 Anek.
Aneka
Aneka
Divyamalayambaradharam.
Divya Malyambaradharam
Divyamalayambaradharam.
Divyamayambaradharam.
Divyagandhanulepanam.
Divya Gandhanulepanam
Divyagandhanulepanam.
Divyagandanulepanam.
Sarvascharyamayam devam.
Sarvascharyamayam
Sarvascharyam
Sarvascharyamaya
Devam.
Devam
Anantam Vishwato Mukham.
Anantam
Anantam
Tam
Vishwato
Vishwato
Vishwatomukam.
Mukham.
Mukham
Anekavaktra nayanam.
Aneka
Anekavaktra
Anekavaktra
nayanam.
Nayanam.
Anekadbhut darshanam.
Aneka
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 adbhuta
Adbhuta
darshanam.
Darshanam.
Anek
Aneka
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 Divya
divyabharanam.
Divyabharanam.
Divya anekodyayudham.
Divya
Divya eko
Anekodyayudham.
adbhutam.
Divyamalayambaradharam.
Divya
Divyamanayam
Baram Dharam.
baradaram.
Divya gandhanulepanam.
Divya
Divya
Divyagandhanulepanam.
gandanulepanam.
Sarvascharyamayam devam.
Sarvashcharyamayam
Sarvashcharyamaya
Devam.
devam.
Anantam Vishwato Mukham.
Tam
Anantam
Vishwato Mukham.
vishwatomukam.
Anekavaktra nayanam.
Anekavaktra
Anekavaktra Nayanam.
nayanam.
Anek Adbhuta darshanam.
Aneka
Aneka Adbhuta
adbhuta
Darshanam.
darshanam.
Anek Divya Bharanam.
Aneka
Aneka
divyabharanam.
Divyabharanam.
Divya Anekodyayudham.
Divya
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 Anekodyayudham
Ayudham.
anekodhyayudam.
Divyamalayambaradharam.
Divyamalaya
Divyamalayambaradharam.
varadaram.
Divya Gandhanulepanam.
Divya
Divya
Gandhanulepanam.
gandanulepanam.
Sarvascharyamayam devam.
Sarvashcharyamayam
Sarvashcharyamaya
Devam.
devam.
Anantam Vishwato Mukham.
Anantam
Anantam
Vishwato
vishwatomukam.
Mukham.
Anyone who would like to recite?
Anekavaktra Nayanam.
Anekavaktra
Nayanam.
nayanam.
Aneka Adbhuta Darshanam.
Anek
Anekadbhuta
Adbhuta Darshanam.
darshanam.
Aneka Divyabharanam.
Anek
Aneka
Divya
divyabharanam.
Bharanam.
Divya Aneka Udyotudham.
Divya Anekodyayudham.
Divyanekyodhyayudham.
Divyamalayambaram Dharam.
दिव्यमाल्याम्बरधरम्
दिव्यगन्धानुलेपनम्
दिव्यगन्धानुलेपनम्
सर्वाश्चर्यमयं देवम्
सर्वाश्चर्यमयं देवम्
अनन्तं विश्वतोमुखम्
अनन्तं विश्वतोमुखम्
Anyone else?
अनेकवक्त्रनयनम्
अनेकवक्त्रनयनम्
अनेकाद्भुतदर्शनम्
अनेकाद्भुतदर्शनम्
अनेकदिव्याभरणम्
अनेकदिव्याभरणम्
दिव्यानेकोद्यतायुधम्
दिव्यानेकोद्यतायुधम्
दिव्यमाल्याम्बरधरम्
दिव्यमाल्याम्बरधरम्
दिव्यगन्धानुलेपनम्
दिव्यगन्धानुलेपनम्
सर्वाश्चर्यमयं देवम्
सर्वाश्चर्यमयं देवम्
अनन्तं विश्वतोमुखम्
अनन्तं विश्वतोमुखम्. Anyone else? Okay, we can read the synonyms now. You can repeat after me. Aneka,
अनेक
various.
various
Vaktra,
vaktra
mouths.
mouth
Nayanam,
nayanam
eyes.
eyes
Aneka,
अनेक
various.
various
Adbhut,
adbhut
wonderful.
wonderful
Darshanam,
darshanam
sights.
sights
Aneka,
अनेक
many.
many
Divya,
divya
divine.
divine
Abharnam,
abharanam
ornaments.
ornament
Divya,
divya
divine.
divine
Aneka,
अनेक
various.
various
Udyata,
udyata
uplifted.
uplifted
Ayudham,
ayudham
weapons.
weapons
Divya,
divya
divine.
divine
Malya,
malya
malya
garlands.
garlands
Ambara,
ambara
dresses.
dresses
Dharam,
dharam
wearing.
wearing
Divya,
divya
divine.
divine
Gandha,
gandha
fragrances.
fragrances
Anulepanam,
anulepanam
smeared with.
smeared with
Sarva,
sarva
all.
all
Ascharyamayam,
ascharyamayam
wonderful.
wonderful
Devam,
devam
shining.
shining
Anantam,
anantam
unlimited.
unlimited
Vishwato mukham,
visvato mukham
all pervading.
all pervading
Translation: Arjuna saw in that universal form unlimited mouths, unlimited eyes, unlimited wonderful visions. The form was decorated with many celestial ornaments and bore many divine upraised weapons. He wore celestial garlands and garments, and many divine scents were smeared over his body. All was wondrous, brilliant, unlimited, all expanding. So the word divine comes multiple times. Divya. We have to understand here that the word divya, when used in Bhagavad Gita, it has two different meanings. So we see there is this divya word also comes in 4.9. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvatah. So there the word divya means transcendental. The Krishna says that the nature of my appearance and my activities is transcendental. But here the word divya doesn't mean transcendental, it means celestial. So it can be used in both the sense. So both would mean divine, it can be translated as divine, but there is a little difference. So this, what is being described here is material, and what is described in 4.9 is transcendental. So it says Aneka Vaktra Nayanam. So when we look at someone, the first thing that we look at is his face. It says there are many different faces and many different eyes. The next thing that we notice is we look into the eyes of the person. So it says Anek Vaktra mouths and Anek Nayanam also, many different eyes. Anek Adbhut Darshanam. There are very different, extraordinary vision is there. And it says Anek Divya Bharanam. So there are extraordinary ornaments these forms are wearing. And Divya Abharanam. So Bharanam means garments. And then it says Divya Anek Udya Ayudham. So Ayudha refers to weapons, and what also Udyata means uplifted weapons. So all these forms have the different uplifted weapons in their hands. So they are decorated with ornaments, garments, and also with weapons. And Divya Malayambar Dharam. So actually Malya is garlands. It is decorated with garlands, and Ambara is again clothes. Different. And then it says the next word is very significant. Divya Gandhanulepanam. So Gandhanulepanam means there are transcend or divine fragrances are also spread. So this vision is not just a vision as we see in the television. It is more like a very comprehensive experience, as we can say. So it's not just that Arjuna is able to see; he's also able to experience the fragrance. Because these are like very extraordinary forms that are being displayed here. So they have extraordinary things smeared on their body from which fragrance is coming out. So he can experience that fragrance also, and it seems like even Sanjaya could smell the fragrances, because otherwise, how would he know that it is? It's like fragrant. So some people here would have experienced that 4D and 5D. We say 3D we all have seen, but 4D and 5D they have some added things. So this vision is not just 3D; it is much more than that. And Sarva.
I recently heard Prabhuji 8D. There is someone recorded Hanuman Chalisa in 8D. So I had question, in my mind, how they have done that.
Yeah.
I mean, you are from engineering background, so you might have heard more dimension.
And actually what they do is just if you're like, I think I have experienced 5D or 7D. So when you're sitting in a hall, your seats will also move, and then like if it shows on the screen that it's raining, so the droplets will also fall on you while you're sitting in the movie hall. So
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that.
Yeah, that's what they are saying, that the sound is coming from all 8 directions. That's what I heard. So, I mean, we should, publish something, like Paraprabhu gave me a couple months back some publications from Bhakti Vedanta Science Division. So we should also do something, like what are the descriptions in Vedas. I mean, I'm sure they might have done this, but we should also do separate meetings to explore what is being described.
Yeah, sure, Prabhu.
Yeah,
I'm sure
yeah.
Pari Prabhu is listening your suggestions, so
Yeah.
he will consider on it, hopefully. So Sarvascharya Mayam Devam. Everything about this form is extraordinary. Sarvascharya, it is full of amazement. And Anantam Vishwadomikham, it is all pervading. It is pervading every direction and everything. So it is explained later that Arjuna is no longer able to see the battlefield. All he is seeing is this form. It is spread all over. And later he will see the battlefield, but as if the battlefield is shown within the universal form. It's not that Arjuna is standing on the battlefield, that is why he's able to see the battlefield. So he actually loses his orientation looking at the he's not able to understand which direction is north, which is south, where is he standing. So he completely loses his orientation, and then there is a vision of the battlefield within the Vishwarupa. There it is shown that all the warriors are entering into the mouths of the Vishwarupa. So let's read the purport, what Prabhupada says. In these two verses, the repeated use of the word many indicates that there was no limit to the number of hands, mouths, legs, and other manifestations Arjuna was seeing. These manifestations were distributed throughout the universe. But by the grace of the Lord, Arjuna could see them while sitting in one place. That was due to the inconceivable potency of Krishna. So again, these many indicates that there are thousands of forms, and Arjuna could see all these forms all at one place. So all the different forms you could see. Any better now, Prabhu? Okay. So before we move forward, are there any comments or questions about this verse? Any comments, questions? Okay. So looks like there is no comment or question. Let's just, this is 11.12. You can repeat after me. Prabhu, can you unmute everyone, please? Okay. So you can repeat after me. Divi Surya Sahasrasya
Divi Surya Sahasrasya
Bhaved Yuga Uthita
Bhaved Yugapad Uttitha
Yadi Bhasadarshi Sasyad
यदि
यदि भासदृशि सा स्यात्
Bhashastasya Mahatmanah
Ashastasya Mahatmanah
Divi Surya Sahasrasya
दिवि सूर्य सहस्रस्य
Bhaved Yugapad Uthita
Bhaved Yugapad Uttitha
Yadi Bhasadarshi Sasyad
यदि
यदि भासदर्शी स्यात्
Sasyad
Bhashastasya Mahatmanah.
भासस्तस्य
Tasya
महात्मनः
महात्मनः
Anyone else would like to recite?
Divi
दिवि
Surya Sahasrasya
दिवि सूर्यसहस्रस्य
Bhaved Yugapad Uttitha
भवेद्युगपदोत्थितः
Yadi Bhasadrishi Sa Yasyat
यदि
Sasya
भासदृशी स्यात्
Vasas Tasya Mahatmana
भासस्तस्य
तस्य महात्मनः
महात्मनः
Anyone else?
दिवि सूर्या सहस्रस्य
दिवि सूर्यसहस्रस्य
भवेद् युगापाद उत्थिता
भवेद्युगपदोत्थितः
यदि भासादृशी सा स्याद्
यदि भासदृशी स्यात्
भासास्तास्य महात्मनः
भासस्तस्य महात्मनः दिवि सूर्यसहस्रस्य
Divi Surya Sahasrasya
भावेद्युगपदोत्थितः
Bhaved
युगपदुत्थिता
यदि भासदृशी स्यात्
यदि
Yadi Bhasadrishi Sasyad
भासस्तस्य महात्मनः
भासस्तस्य महात्मनः
यदि सूर्य सहस्रस्य दिवि सूर्य सहस्रस्य
दिवि सूर्यसहस्रस्य
भवेत् युगपदुत्थिता
भावेद्युगपदोत्थितः
यदि भासदृशी सा स्यात्
यदि भासदृशी स्यात्
भासस्तस्य महात्मनः
भासस्तस्य महात्मनः
Anyone else? Okay, so we can
Fix your mic, Prabhu. No. Yeah, I think there is a problem.
I have a different mic. Am I audible now?
Now it's better. Yeah, I think you have to hold it. I think it's gets loose somewhere.
Divi,
दिवि
in the sky.
In the sky.
Surya,
Surya
of suns.
of suns
Sahasrasya,
Sahasrasya
of many thousands.
of many thousands
Bhaved,
Bhaved
there were.
There were
Yugapata,
Yugapad
simultaneously.
simultaneously
Uthita,
Uttita
Uttita
present.
present
Yadi,
Yadi
if.
if
Haha,
Aha
light.
light
Sadarshi,
Sadarshi
like that.
like that
That's it.
Sa,
Sa
that.
that
that
Syat,
Syat
might be.
might be
Bhashah,
Bhashah
effulgence.
effulgence
Tasya,
Tasya
of him.
of him
Mahatmanah,
Mahatmanaha
The great Lord.
The
The
great
great
Lord.
Lord.
If hundreds of thousands of suns were to rise at once into the sky, their radiance might resemble the effulgence of the Supreme Person in that form. So this verse is very significant. It says, Divi Surya Sahasrasya Bhaved Yugapad Uthita. So here the word Yugapata simultaneously. Okay. If there were the kind of effulgence will be there, the same effulgence was displayed, from the body of the Supreme Lord. So there was this physicist, Oppenheimer, is the same physicist who made the atom bomb. So when they were to test the atom bomb, they actually the project name was I believe Project Manhattan. So when they were to test the atom bomb, so they decided like a secluded place where there is no population over there. It was in a desert, and they had some conception of what the blast would be, but they had no experience. So they decided that this will be the place where they will drop the atom bomb to test it, and they went several miles away from that place, several miles away, and from a great distance they were watching, and when the atom bomb was dropped, so there was like a boom, like a big sound was made, and there was like a big effulgence came out. At that time, this Oppenheimer had quoted this particular verse. The Oppenheimer, it's well known that he used to read Bhagavad Gita. So he quoted this verse, and he also quoted Kalosmi Lokakshay Krit Pravata, time I am the destroyer of the three words. So the idea is that the kind of effulgence that was created, that was visible from the body of the Supreme Lord, it is was just extraordinary. It's very difficult even to think how could when we look at the noon time in the summers, when we look at the sky, the sun is so effulgent, it is even difficult to look at the sun. But if thousands of suns were to rise, and actually it is described in some of the acharyas say that the word yugapada also means that at the interval of two yugas, so when there is destruction, at that time the suns become much more effulgent, it becomes much more bright. So, and if there were thousands of suns like that, at that so how much more the effulgence would be. So that was the kind of effulgence that was coming out in that place. So the word bha, if you see yadi bha refers to effulgence. So bhaskar in the word, the bhaskar refers to the sun, but bha refers to the effulgence that comes out, something that gives light. So like that, there is like extremely effulgent. So if we look at the example that of the atom bomb, so the what happens in the atom bomb, so there is a long chain of events that happen in the scientific process, but what they do is they basically split the atom, and what is inside comes out, and there's so much energy stored in an atom that it can blow up the entire city. So but the point is that where does that energy comes from? What is the source of that energy? So that source of the energy is actually the Supreme Lord. So that same Supreme Lord is manifesting his opulence, his energy here on the battlefield. Let's see what Prabhupada has to say here in the purport. What Arjuna saw was indescribable, yet Sanjaya is trying to give a mental picture of that great revelation to Dhritarashtra. Neither Sanjaya nor Dhritarashtra was present, but Sanjaya, by the grace of Vyas, could see whatever happened. Thus, he now compares the situation, as far as it can be understood, to an imaginable phenomena, that is, thousands of suns. So, Prabhupada is actually telling us that actually even Sanjaya was not able to perfectly describe in words what he was seeing or what was being shown on the battlefield. But somehow, Sanjay is trying to give some indication, some idea to Dhritarashtra that what is being seen on the battlefield. So what is the kind of vision that Arjuna is seeing on the battlefield, and even Sanjay is seeing that the battlefield. So I think we can stop here, but we still have few more minutes. Are there any questions or comments?
So, Prabhu, that means Sanjaya could see the universal form of Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
So, other than Arjuna, it was only the Sanjaya who could see?
So it is later in the same chapter, it is described that Arjuna, from a human perspective, only Arjuna and Sanjay could see. Nobody else on the battlefield was able to see that form, because we see that Krishna says to Arjuna, Divyam dadami te chaksham, I give you divine eyes. So like a divine celestial vision, was given to Arjuna by Krishna. So nobody else had those divine eyes except Arjuna. But still, if you read the commentaries of Acharyas, and even in this same chapter later, it was described that the celestial residents, the Devtas, the Gandharvas, they were able to see that form, and they became frightened looking at this form. So nobody on the earth but the celestial denizens were able to see that form, and many other sages who had the transcendental divine vision, they were able to see this. So what happened is, because Supreme Lord himself is manifested, and this is the most dramatic part of the Mahabharata here, because both the armies are assembled on the battlefield ready to fight. So everybody, all the divine sages who had divine, we say Trikadarshi, right? The word that is used, they could see everything sitting at one place. So Vyasdev himself is such a person. So like that, there were many other sages. So they all were actually at that time focused on what is happening on the battlefield. So even they could see what is happening on the battlefield. But ordinary people couldn't see what's happening. They were just, it was like a big question mark to them, that what is happening between Krishna and Arjuna. Later it is described that Arjuna gets down from the chariot, he offers obeisances. So they were confused that why is Arjuna on the battlefield offering obeisances and looking here and there and looking disoriented. So for them, it was a big question mark, but they couldn't understand what's happening on the battlefield.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, Mataji.
In this purport, it says, let's see, neither Sanjaya nor Dhritarashtra was present. But you just said that Sanjaya was present the first 10 days at Kurukshetra?
Yes. So
where does it say he was present?
Okay, I mean, I have seen that in the Mahabharata, Mataji. It is the way it is described in the Mahabharata is that for the first 10 days, Sanjay was on the battlefield, and after 10 days, he came back to Dhritarashtra and he started reporting to Dhritarashtra what is happening. So I understand what your point is. Neither Sanjay nor Dhritarashtra was present, but Sanjay, by the grace of Vyas, could see whatever happened. So what I can understand is, when Sanjay was on the battlefield, at that time he couldn't perceive the discussion that was happening between Arjuna and Krishna. All he could see is what other warriors could see. But he started using his divine vision that was given to him by Vyasdev only after he came back to Dhritarashtra and started reporting to him. So he could see in the past what had happened, and then from there on he starts describing each day that day 1 this is what happened, day 2 this is what happened, like that. That is my understanding, but I don't know if
I don't remember ever hearing that Sanjaya was there for 10 days. So I'm just wondering.
I never heard it either.
Which
one place I had read an explanation that actually he was fighting on the battlefield. I think Sahadeva was supposed to kill him. And what was that? Sorry?
There's Satyendra Prabhu is speaking. Prabhu, he was asking who is speaking. Prabhuji was
Satyendra is speaking. Prabhu. So Sahadeva was going to kill, and I think Arjuna and they stopped that he's our friend. Let him go back and explain to Dhritarashtra what's happening. But there's another explanation also that he was able to expand, and he was actually fighting the battle, and he was with Dhritarashtra at the same time. I don't know which is the right explanation.
I think the question is where we're getting it all from. So many people may say so many things. So We need to know which.
Okay,
even
Prabhuji,
Mahabharat,
I will.
there are many Mahabharats in English. What Mahabharat?
We have one authentic version from Gita Press, so we should go look verses, original verses.
I will send the reference, Prabhu, from where I had taken it. So I'll share it with you. But I have heard this from in many different lectures also from different devotees in ISKCON itself.
I would like to add one thing. Prabhuji mentioned that Robert Oppenheimer of Manhattan Project, he quoted 2 verses from Bhagavad Gita when he tested an atom bomb. So
Yeah.
before that, I mean, he was an intelligent scientist. He went to Stanford to study Sanskrit for the people who just, hear and, express. So I think we should go to original Sanskrit verses and then see what Prabhupada is saying. So he went to Stanford because there were several translations of Bhagavad Gita at that time also. And he was worried why these translations are. So he went to Stanford and he studied Sanskrit. And then he studied Bhagavad Gita in original Sanskrit language. And then he, so it's very inspiring that a person from Western world, studies another language and, for curiosity and knowing philosophy. So it's mentioned in Wikipedia page. I discussed with Pyare Prabhu and Jiva Mataji last year this.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting information, Prabhu. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Any other last comments or questions? It's almost time. I mean, it's beyond 8 now. So if there are any last questions or comments, can discuss it. Okay. So if there are no more questions, comments, thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you.
Jai.